నమస్కారం. డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం విద్యార్థులకు స్వాగతం. ఈ ప్రసారంలో
Hello viewers, today we are having a session on advertising planning and execution. This topic is selected from Product and Advertising Management course, and hence this session is more relevant for MBA students who are doing the program with marketing specialization. For any business, rather for services also, advertising planning and execution are very important activities, because you know that it is through advertisement only the producer or the, of course, the distributor of products, they reach the target group about the product, its unique features and how it is different from the products or brands of other competitors, etc. Not only planning, and the second half of advertisement is, that is execution. Planning is one side of the story and execution is another side of the story. So both these things need to be taken care of while advertising a product. To enlighten us about what is advertising planning and execution, that is, who is a client, what is the relationship between client and agency, how the relationship is going to affect the productivity of an advertisement, what is message, how a message should be designed, how to select media, what are the different types of media that is available, how to select a media, and how to measure the effectiveness of advertising ultimately. To enlighten us about all these things, we have an eminent professor with us today in our studios, Professor G.V.Bhavani Prasad. So, namaste sir, welcome to our studios. Professor Bhavani Prasad is a senior most professor of Kakatiya University. At present, Professor Prasad is head and also the principal of Department of Commerce and Business Management of Kakatiya University. So, thank you very much for sparing your valuable time, sir, and being with us in our studios. So, to begin with, I just want you to define what is advertising, what is the meaning of advertising, and what are the major decisions to be taken while advertising about a product.
Hello viewers, I'm happy to be in front of you to talk about advertising. Most of you have seen lots of advertisements in TVs, newspapers and even other media too. And I know that most of the times we buy products because we see advertisements. Advertisements are very impressive. Now we also need to know what happens behind really the advertisements which you are seeing. A lot of effort goes behind that, and I am telling you very honestly. Advertising is known as any paid form of non-personal communication by an identified sponsor. So, all advertisements are paid by someone, but it is a mass communication. The basic issue with advertising is there is no linkage between the person who is seeing the advertisement and the person who is creating the advertisement. So, this is where really a lot of planning is required, a lot of meticulous execution is required. So, in planning for advertising, you know, there are 5 important decisions which are always considered as important. One, the first step is you have to define what kind of advertisements you are going to release to the market, and that is based on what are the advertising objectives. That is, whether you are introducing a new product, whether you are entering to a new market, whether you are trying to re-advertise the existing product. For example, recently you must have seen today in the newspapers that Samsung Galaxy Grand 2 is being offered on EMI basis. So, sometimes we try to advertise about the change in the strategy also. So, you have to have some objectives. Without objectives, you do not have any advertising process at all. After the objectives, then the second step is that is you decide about what is the budget you are going to spend on advertising. Then after the budget, there are different methods are there. Of course, they are available in the books, you can read. After the advertising, the most crucial part of any advertising is creation of message and media management. And especially if the copy is not good, if the advertisement fails, the product also fails, the companies also fail. So, that is the reason why we give lot of importance to message creation. And this is where the role of a specialized agency called advertising agency comes into picture. That's why most of the times you find companies like Hindustan Thumbs and Associate, company like Ogilvy Mather, the companies like Mudra Communications, they are specialized in the area of creating messages and also executing the messages. And this is after the creation of messages, we have what is called the fourth decision, that is called media, which media we are going to use. And most of the times TV is supposed most powerful medium. Apart from that, there is even a lot of other medias like internet, which is an important media these days picking up. Then we also have other media called press media, etc., outdoor media. So all this media management is again an important strategic key decisions for advertising management. Then lastly, we have spent so much money on advertisement creation. What is happening with this? Are we able to get return out of these advertisements? Are we able to get really the benefit out of this effort which are making in advertisements? So this is where we go into the last decision called measuring the advertising effectiveness. We would like to know whether our advertisements are effective or not by going through certain evaluative processes. This is how, in simple terms, in a nutshell, what is advertising planning is all about.
So, deciding what are the objectives of the advertising, then deciding the budget, then deciding creating the message, finding out the agency,
Yes.
And then selecting the media, and ultimately measuring the effectiveness.
Yes, perfect.
So this is the order. Okay, as you said, okay, regarding the budget, because it is another vast area. So because of the time constraint, I think we may not be in a position to discuss all these things. So we'll start with agency.
Okay.
So because what is agency? And you said that there are already few agencies, Mudra
Yes,
agency
yeah,
and all these
there
things.
are very
What
good
is the role and functions of this agency?
Yeah, advertising agency is a key functionary in the management of advertisements, because you may have any number of companies, they have their own internal advertising departments too, but they always prefer to have outside agency because they are specialized in the creation of advertisements. So advertising agencies takes care of marketing research, they also take care of consumer preference analysis, they also take care of media management analysis, they also take care of media preference analysis, they also take care of creative activities, what kind of combinations of advertisement we have to create. For example, you talk of text media advertisement, you talk of video advertisements. When you talk of video, what could be the combination of picture, background, models and the music? All these things put together is totally a creative activity, and every advertising agency first starts with creation of message, then after the message is created, then they go into what is called media management and execution, and without that no company is successful in executing their advertisements.
So is it compulsory that some outside agency should be engaged?
It's not necessary, but the thing is, because it's an outside agency specialized in this, they do more creative job than an internal company.
Okay.
Because internal company will be totally internal focused, that's why they don't know what is happening in the market, what is happening in the competition, what is happening in the other products and brands.
Yes.
So that is where the experience of outside agencies will be very useful for any company.
Okay.
Ma'am.
So what is actually client agency relationship?
Yeah, you see, usually most of the times what happens, I tell you, a company once it hires an agency, it tries to continue with the same agency. For example, Coca-Cola.
Okay.
Coca-Cola continues right from the day it entered in India, the same agency is being used. The reason is because if you go through the series of advertisements, there is a continuity. Maybe models are changing, maybe background will be changing, but the product is the same, it is Coca-Cola. So that continuity you want to encourage, that effectiveness you want to encourage, you have to continue with one agency. Likewise, agency also would like to continue with the client because their whole life depends upon the client business. So that is why there is an interdependent relationship. So there is what is called a client trust relationship, I would say.
Okay.
The client has to trust the agency will have to do its best to benefit the client.
Sir, how the relationship between the client and agency that affect the productivity of the advertisement?
Well, ma'am, I would say that agency and the client are two sides of a coin, I would say, because you can't separate the coins, you can't separate the agency and the client. The reason is the survival of the agency depends on the client and the survival of the client depends on the agency. If they do not create the right kind of advertisements, then the product fails, and the product fails, the company fails, the agency also fails. So that is why there is there are two sides of one, that's why I said there are two sides of one coin. So it is always the effort of the advertising agency that they would like to create the best of advertisements, because the best of advertisements will get better productivity. You could take the example of Thumbs Up. And in Thumbs Up, they have been using different brand ambassadors like Yuvraj Singh, then they have used Saif Ali Khan, etc. The purpose is that Thumbs Up is a brand associated with adventurous spirit of youth. So that kind of message, if you want to convey, you have to put in a lot of adventure. This thing, that's what you have seen even Mahesh Babu also performing some stunts. So that creates a lot of effect in the minds of the people, and that makes them to buy and use the product. So the productivity of a product is directly linked with the creativity of the message which is created by the advertising agency or the person who is creating the message. So we always say that best advertisement is the one which should get more sales and which should get more revenue for the company, client, which should also get more commission for the agency.
Okay, but the same agency may act as an agency for other clients also, maybe for the similar type of products. So how do they do justice?
No, usually there is a unwritten agreement between the agency and the client that they do not handle competitive brands.
Okay.
They do not handle competitive brands. It's an unwritten agreement. It's a professional ethics followed by agencies. They never handle competitive brands. That's why you find Coke uses one ad agency, Thumbs Up uses another ad agency, and Pepsi uses another ad agency. They never use the same ad agencies.
Okay. So let us take up the next activity, that is message design.
Yes,
you are also saying that message design is actually one of the most important activities.
Exactly.
So please throw some light on this message strategy.
Well, I tell you what is a message first of all. What is the purpose of a message? What is a message? Message is what we want to communicate to the audience. Audience means the people whom we want them to buy our product. They are called target audience. Now, if the message is really interesting, people will pay attention, they will create interest, it will also create desire, it will lead to action. This is called AIDA principle.
Okay.
So every message will have to adhere to this particular principle: attention, interest, desire, and action. So if the message is really creative, it will go for all these 4 stages and ensure there is a sale. So for example, we have seen sometimes some very high creative advertisements also may not get the sales, but they leave the impression so that they get sales at a later stage. So the purpose of a message is to make the clients, to make the audience to understand, to memorize and use it for in their future purposes. That is why it is called a creative message process.
Okay.
So I'll give 1 or 2 examples here. For example, you have seen Vodafone. Vodafone, earlier it was Hutch phone, and it is known, everybody says that these are the most creative advertisements, both of them, both Hutch dog and as well as Zuzubas of Vodafone. Likewise, if you see the latest ad given by KitKat, and they are using small kids, as the models, and you find they do all sorts of stunts, and these stunts again create a lot of interest in purchasing KitKat chocolates. So this is how a message is, a lot of things going behind scenes like screenplay, direction, then you have role models, then you have background pictures, situation creation, music, everything is part of the message.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is how actually the agencies will try to look into how to create a good message.
So message design actually plays a very important role.
Absolutely, absolutely. Without that, there is no value for the product.
Yes. So the next aspect is media.
Yes.
So what is media and what are the different media that is available?
Well, it's like this, madam, that you have the message with you, but it should reach the audience.
Yes.
If it has to reach the audience, then it has to go through a medium, a channel of communication, would like to say. But there are lots of media available. For example, we have press media, which comprises of newspapers, magazines, journals, etc. Yes. And there is outdoor media, which is comprised of huge billboards, hoardings, etc. There are other small media like pamphlets, brochures, etc. They come, but the most widely used media is television. You find in every television program you find at least 10 to 15 spots. Spot means each spot is one advertisement. Yes. You would say maybe for 14 seconds or 15 seconds or 20 seconds. So each spot is repeated over a period of time. For example, in a day it may be 10 spots, it may be 20 spots, etc. So this adds to the cost of advertisement, but at the same time this is one medium which is highly effective medium, in the sense you see, for example, Gemini channel. Gemini TV channel, they have lots of serials which are widely popular. Yes. So there is a lot of TRP rating for these, and during those channels, those programs which have high TRP rating you have very high level of advertisement going, that is the media.
During that prime time also.
Prime time.
Prime time.
Then for example, now we have what's called cricket matches.
Yes.
There are people who are fans of cricket matches, especially in India. So what happens, you always give the products which are related to these people who are using cricket, who are also interested in cricket and using the products. So you find ads most widely found in the, so what is you find? Television is the best medium and the most effective medium. Now of the past 4-5 years, you find internet is also picking up. So advertisement on internet is not as creative as what is happening in television, but it is also slowly reaching people. So this is all the media options available, because the more number of advertisements are through different media, the more number of times the people are being exposed to the advertisement. The more number of times they are exposed, the more they are likely to remember. The more they are likely to remember, the more it is easy for them to go and buy the product, the moment brand recall is taking place. So we have to decide which combination of media we are going to use, that is the first decision, not only which combination. Then how much of each media we want to use. For example, I was talking about the spots in television. If you are going, let us say 10 spots in a day, how many days you want to use? Suppose you are thinking of 20 days in a month, it comes to 200 spots. Suppose you want to use for 3 months, 200 spots into 3 months, 600 spots you have to pay. So this is called macro scheduling and micro scheduling. Daily planning is called micro scheduling. Monthly planning or quarterly planning is called macro scheduling. Both is also part of media planning and execution. Well, all this is done, but after that you would like to know whether people have really received your message or not. That is where we also sometimes use, in case of press clippings, we give them some what is called coupons. These coupons they fill up, they send it back to the company, we send them complimentary, through which we will come to know whether they have seen the ad or not.
Yeah.
So this type of things are also used by the, so ultimately the media plays a critical role of carrying your message from the organization to the target audience. So without media, there is no way we can transfer.
The nature of the market also, I think, plays a crucial role. Whether we are reaching the urban target group or rural.
Absolutely, that's what I am talking about. Again, if you say brand like Fair and Lovely,
yes.
let us say, Fair and Lovely is equally used in both urban areas as well as rural areas.
Rural areas.
So it uses only the type of local channels or native channels. Even if it is TV also, it is native channels. They don't go for national channels.
Yes.
They go for national channels only when they try to advertise in Hindi. But there is no question of English channels at all. But suppose
that's why most of the people they are talking about customization of advertisement.
Exactly. Yeah. For example, I'll tell you. Earlier, what used to happen, I tell you, because there was no digital era.
Yes.
Earlier, one ad was created. It was dubbed in different languages. So the same ad, same models, same situation, but it is Telugu is dubbed, Tamil is dubbed, Kannada is dubbed,
yes.
Then Malayalam is dubbed. But what happens is, when you create an ad in a, let us say, Hindi scenario, then we try to dub them and show in a Telugu scenario or Kannada scenario. It doesn't match.
Yes.
But the beauty of digital era is, now you create ad in one scenario, you can always change the background scenario, just going for what is called media management or what is media morphing. That's what they do. The experts are there, they can take care of that.
Okay. So the last aspect, that is measuring the effectiveness of the advertising. So how to measure?
Yeah,
so okay, the companies are spending lakhs of rupees or crores of rupees on advertising.
Correct.
So definitely that has to give them the returns.
In fact, last year there was a study which showed that around $500 billion are spent on advertising alone. In the entire world, I am talking $500 billion. Okay, but what is happening to this money? Are we getting the returns? So usually there is a confusion between advertising effectiveness for sales, advertising effectiveness for message.
Okay.
So what happens is, first of all, we try to test what is advertising effectiveness for message. So how do you say the message is effective? First, I gave you the 3 important principles: attention, interest, desire and action. Desire and action are not covered here. In the case of effectiveness, we try to cover whether it is attention and interest. So if there is attention, interest, the message is remembered.
We should be able to recall.
That's what.
Yeah,
if it is remembered, it is recalled,
yes.
First of all. So if there is attention, interest, it is remembered. So the ad which is highly creative is remembered mostly. Whatever which is remembered mostly will be recalled first.
Yes.
So we conduct a recall test, 2 types of recall tests. aided recall test, unaided recall test. Unaided recall test, we ask them to recall back what all the ads they remember, including the messages. Aided recall test, we give partial messages, partial ads, and ask them to identify. So, in this we can rank which ad has come, that is what I am talking about. Zuzu's advertisement ranked top because everybody was able to recall. That is the beauty of Vodafone advertisement. But when it comes to other advertisement, they were coming next slots. So, that is recall test is done. Then second is, we try to get what is called paid recognition test. We do not show the advertisements, we do not show anything, we just give part of the message, and part of the message ask them to identify with the brand.
Okay.
So, if they are able to identify the brand, then the message is effective. So, this is called message effectiveness. Then the next part is media effectiveness. We try to find out which media is more frequently able to reach people and how they are able to really, whether they are exposed to this message or not. For which you go for what is called TRP ratings, etc. Then accordingly, we also conduct what is called media survey, readership survey, habit survey. Then based on that, we go for what is called feedback survey. That is what we do, with which we can conduct effectiveness studies. Then third most important is we would like to know what is called sales effectiveness. Ultimately, if advertisement is not going to get you a sales, there is no meaning in that. So, there is called the sales effectiveness index, which is computed with the help of advertising effectiveness in terms of what is called, what is the sales before advertisements, what is the sales for after advertisements, and you calculate the difference and divide it by the amount spent on advertisement, then you will know advertising productivity per rupee spent on advertisement. This is the most commonly used method, which is used for finding out whether the advertising process or advertising strategy is effective or not.
Will you please throw some light on measuring the effectiveness of advertising even in case of services?
Exactly. Services, see, for advertising it does not make any distinction between product or service, because it has to be message, it has to go. The only thing is, because in the case of products we have a tangible thing which is can be seen, services it cannot be seen. That is which makes advertising much more important for services than products.
Okay.
Because in products, even a package can be a promotional matter, but in case of service everything has intangibility.
Yes.
So, what you find is, in the case of services, service attributes are identified and message recall has to be associated with attribute, that is called associative recall test.
Okay.
So, attribute recall test, associative recall test, message recall test, these three are conducted to understand the effectiveness of message map.
Okay. Will you please sum up what is advertising planning and execution?
Okay, again we will have to go back to the beginning. As I told you, in any advertising cycle, it starts with advertising objectives. We have to determine what are the objectives with which we want to introduce advertising, advertisements. Then it has to go to how much money you want to spend on the advertisement, that is called advertising budget. Then after that we have to go in for what is called message creation, where we take the help of agencies. Then it goes for medium of message, that is called advertising media. Then we try to wind up the whole thing by measuring effectiveness, because it is not stopping there. That is what I am telling you. This effectiveness test will help you to again revise your objectives. So, this is called a cycle. It's a cycle. So, this is what is about advertising planning and execution, ma'am.
So, one of the very important activity of both business as well as service organizations.
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much, Professor Bhavani Prasad, for being with us today and enlightening our students about advertising planning and execution.
It's my pleasure, and thank you once again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
ఈ కార్యక్రమాలపై మీ అభిప్రాయాల్ని, సూచనల్ని, సలహాల్ని ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నాం. మా చిరునామా ద డైరెక్టర్, ఆడియో విజువల్ ప్రొడక్షన్ అండ్ రీసెర్చ్ సెంటర్, డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ ఓపెన్ యూనివర్సిటీ, ప్రొఫెసర్ జి రామరెడ్డి మార్క్, రోడ్ నంబర్ 46, జూబ్లీ హిల్స్, హైదరాబాద్ 500033.